Did you know teachers aren't humans? They're not allowed to show stress or age, have health problems, show fear, waste time, and most of all, fail. They're not even allowed to go to the bathroom. But that's okay, because we're here to talk about how we're all just playing a role. And at 3 o'clock, we get to be us again. 40 years ago, two 8-year-old boys were bored out of their minds in school, and they vowed one day they would do something about it. They did it to honor their friends. They did it to honor their classmates. They did it for the love of learning. I'm Matt, and this is Rob, and 40 years later, we get our turn, but now we're playing teacher.
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress. Thanks, Rob.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to Playing Teacher. I am Matty Cade here with Mr. Rob Monahan and Brugge. I'm just going to call it Brugge. All right.
What's up?
So, what's going on, guys?
Hi.
Nothing much here.
Hi.
Nothing much over there.
A lot on my
Yeah, I was
end.
gonna say I happen to know that there's a lot going on in Brugge's life, so I don't even want to act like I have anything that's going to rival that. So I'm gonna
Yeah, this is major.
yes.
Major breaking Playing
On-
Teacher news going on. Brugge, you want to fill us in?
Yeah.
Sure. So I got another job in a new school that's like very close to my house. It's 30 minutes away, which is awesome.
What's
And
your commute
I'm
now?
moving on. Over an hour drive
Ooh, my
there
God.
and probably like an hour and 20 home.
So this is cutting your commute in half?
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
So, and I'm really excited. And I went on the interview the other day, and after an hour conversation, they hired me like on the spot. So I got the job. I was
Sweet.
shocked. Yeah. So I'm very happy.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
it's bittersweet leaving a place that you've worked at for 18 years, to like move on, but I'm excited.
I know, believe me, and I think Rob gets it too. So we have been in that situation. But deep congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a very specific question. This is for Matt. This is for all three of us, but
yeah.
So this is how do I say this? And Matt, I know you've had multiple spaces. Brugge, you've been in that office basically forever, and I was in the same room forever. But basically, it's like when you left your little office, whatever that was yesterday, you took all your stuff out.
Yep.
And you left, and basically you're walking away, and that's the last time, maybe not the last time you ever go in there, but it's the last time you're probably ever going to go in there, and definitely that you're ever going to work in there, right? So you see it all empty, the way that it only was probably the first year you went in there, if that, because you were, it was. So how did that feel?
I was definitely choked up when
Yeah.
I got into the elevator, and then like when you watch a sitcom and it's the very last episode of the sitcom.
Oh,
and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Like that is literally how it felt. Like I was like, oh, I'm closing this chapter of my life, and then I got in the elevator, and then as I got out of the elevator into the lobby, I was fine. I allowed myself that moment. Can you guys hear me? Am I good?
Yeah. It's like chopping a little bit, but I can I can hear you.
Okay. I allowed myself that moment, and then that was it. There's a reason why I left, and I kept getting reminded of that over and over, to the point where it's just like, yeah, this is the right decision.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy. And I'm moving to a place where like I know people. So there's like 8 staff members that I used to work with. So I'm excited about that, like reconnecting with them.
Matt,
Yeah.
Yours was somewhat recent also, and it
I
may not be the walking out of a room, but there's the
no
having all your stuff with you and like leaving the building and you know you're not coming back there. What is that? Like, you know,
Well, I had two giant bags
yeah.
that were very symbolic for me almost that I kept in a drawer for 2 years because I knew that my time teaching there was winding down for a lot of reasons. And I knew that if I left, I had so much stuff, and they don't really give you a lot of time to come in and out, in and out. So I just knew if I ever filled these bags up, I was leaving. And it probably meant I was not going to come back.
Mm.
Going on, if you're thinking about going on almost 20 years, I knew when I filled those up, I was going to be making it, a change in my life. And I remember the day that I did fill them up, and I emptied everything into them that I wanted to keep, that like I was never coming back. And I remember I walked out, and these are like IKEA bags, you know what I mean? Like these are like those kind,
Those giant bags.
giant. Yeah. And it took every ounce of strength I had to carry them, not emotional strength. I'm talking about physical strength. They were literally filled up of everything that I can carry. And I said, I'm going to fit everything into those two bags. And and I was looking at those bags for like 2 years, and when it was actually time, I filled them up, everything I was going to take. And I remember just walking out, and every kid was like around me, looking like this was like the end of the school year. Every like what where's he going with all that stuff? And I just knew not to look at anybody, because I didn't want to get choked up. I didn't want to have a conversation. I didn't want, and you sort of got a few like jokes because I didn't talk to anybody that I was leaving. I just knew in my heart I wasn't coming back, and I just remember I just walked out the door, and I had to walk then around, there was cars all there. I had a car around the corner waiting for me. It was like leaving the scene of a crime. You know what I mean? I just know to get to the car, and kids are passing me, like, like looking in the bag, and I think security guards said something to me, right? Like skipping town, something, he's out of here, and I didn't stop and look at anybody. My head was down, and I got to the car. I just like knocked, trunk open, put him in, and I'm like, I got in the car. I'm drenched with sweat. I'm like, go, and I just caught my breath for like a minute or two, and like I just had to like reflect on that was it. That was it. It was very emotionally heavy, and it
It
was
is
physically
emotional.
exhausting, but it
Yeah.
was, but I knew I was making a positive change in my life at that point, and I knew
And
I mean, I don't want to be over dramatic about it, but I felt like I was saving my life in a lot of ways by leaving,
yeah.
and that's what it felt like. It was like I was almost like fighting to get to that car, and it got to the point where I'm just fighting for my life and my freedom to get out of a place that I knew I've overstayed my welcome.
You probably had a little bit a more of a difficult time leaving last year. Like I feel like it was an easier decision for me because
Right.
like three of my very close people left last year.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like why am I like I can't stay here anymore. Like I need to go. So it was just a little bit of an easier decision for you, Maddie. You were under like awful. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
my reasoning for leaving too had to do with the fact that a lot of my friends that did leave were like really treated like shit. And like, is that where I really want to stay until I retire? No. So
I think something about our age, you can get treated like shit when you're younger and you put up with it longer.
and you're more resilient.
I think the older you get, there is a breaking point with how much shit you can get treated by. And there is a line, and when you hit the line, you have to make some change in your life somehow.
Yep.
When you and I think a lot of us understand that, and I think most people in the world understand how much can you actually take when you look at your whole lifespan. You have a life, right? And you're looking at it and you're going through your life. If you realize at a certain point, if this is the way you're valued, maybe you have to take a step back and look at yourself, as an educator or whatever job you have. And if you have the guts and you have the ability and, you have the balls, take a chance and change it.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
me,
And
And
Rob, I'm like, when you left, it was very different because your friendships were still in there, right?
yeah,
So that was
yep.
probably harder for you.
Yeah, so for me it was different because so like just a little backstory, right? So the well here let me ask the two of you this question. What in your minds do you know what's the reason why I left? Do either of you know?
yeah, I mean, you were added. I mean, all right, you're throwing me. I don't
No,
know
no,
what I'm
no.
supposed to say about. All right, so I'm gonna say you've been sick for a long time. You lost a lot of. You didn't have any more days left, and you would have to still go on appointments, and basically it just came down to days. That you only get a certain amount, and you couldn't do it. I think you tried to do you wanted to do what's it called again when you come in for 2 days or 3 days?
F
Well,
status.
F status, right?
well, I did.
And
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you there because I did do F status for 1 year,
right,
but
right.
but it had nothing to do with health. So that's why I'll stop you. I'll let
Did
Brugge.
it have to do with did it have to do with Sam?
Yes,
Yeah, thought so.
but what do you think it was? It's very very clear. Like there's a very definite reason why I decided to leave, and it's probably like a smaller thing than anyone. It's
Was it
probably
like Carlene went to work and you decided to stay with Sam? I don't know. I remembered having
no.
to do something with Sam.
So
I thought it was days. I thought it was just like you were out of days, and you knew
no.
that it wouldn't work anymore.
I would have stayed if I could have maintained F status, but F status I could only get for 1 year, right? So then
Right.
basically I had the conversation with the principal. She said I can't do F status again, so it would have to be either like it would have to be back to full time. So that year would be the year that Sam was going to start like um I'm going to call it pre-K, but like he was 4 years old or something. He was going to start going to like a little co-op preschool
Mhm.
type thing in our neighborhood that would be 3 days a week, half a day. It wasn't even a full day, right? It was like he was going to be there from like 9 to 12 on 3 or 4 days a week, right? And so the thing was very simple. It was like in my mind, I was like, I refuse to be a slave to a schedule that disallows me from being able to do the things I want to do with him. But it was the simplest thing. If I can't walk him, if I can't bring him to school in the morning and make sure he's okay, I'm out. I quit. That's the reason why I quit.
Wow.
I literally quit because I couldn't bear to not be able to take him in there,
Your child.
to take him there. Because like the first week I took him there, I would drop him off. He was only going to be there 3 hours, and then I would go walk around the block like 45 times, just waiting, like making sure they didn't call me, or I'd be sitting in the cookie shop eating a cookie and like crying. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah, no,
so. Yeah, I know you understand this too, being a warrior. Like it's like it's debilitating. So. And
I
so
feel like a callous piece of shit.
wait, you said Matt understands it. Wait, for being a what?
No, 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 for being a warrior. Like you and me are both like
Oh, a warrior.
I thought you
we
said he
I
was
thought
a
you said war.
warrior.
I thought you said warrior too, and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah. That
I was
too.
like,
That too.
like so if I'm a warrior, then I would
Yeah.
understand like
No, no,
missing
no.
your warriors miss their kids. I was like, oh no, oh, yes, no,
Oh, worrying.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah,
no, yeah, no, no. We had Cindy. Cindy stayed home the first couple of years. We made that we
yeah,
didn't have like we didn't want anybody watching Dylan.
yeah. Right, right. Yeah.
Before she went back to work. So no, it would definitely.
I have a
I under
totally
I
different mentality than you guys. It is
you
crazy.
do. Like
And I'm the
your kids are
counselor.
like
And
walking
I'm
in
the
the woods.
counselor.
And
What's it
that's
me?
Yeah, and I just want to say up front, like I don't consider any other way to be wrong. This is just me. Like
Right.
I was incapable of like I'm a catastrophist, right? So I have catastrophism, and this is like a probably a PTSD thing, but it's just it's like a Doctor Strange. It's the imagining of every possible future
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
gravitating towards the negative ones
Yeah.
and
I didn't think you
come
had that. I have that. I
no.
didn't think you
Oh
were that way.
no.
See, you were my guy to make me feel better. Fuck, you're worse than me. Okay.
You guys are glass filled half empty.
Well, I'm only like that with myself. Like I like so I can
Oh, so
see.
maybe you're aware of it, so you're picking up on me. You pick
Yeah, oh,
it up
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
me.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
I when I'm helping you, I'm using tactics that I've had to develop
that's
for
worked with
myself.
you.
I'm
Yeah,
like, Austin, you want to go play in the woods with your friends? Have
That's what I
fun.
said. Like, yeah, like Brugge's like just like,
no,
yeah,
but that's
go,
different. That's different. That's different because this has to do with. This doesn't have to do with letting Sam go out. Because when we moved here, he was literally in the woods. Like he'd be away for hours. He's like 7 or 8 years old. I don't know where he is. This has to do with trusting other people. So you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So like it's
Yeah.
which
I
I
get
don't
it.
have. I don't have that. I've lost that gene for trusting others in
Which
to
is understandable based
right,
on your past. Like
right.
totally when you say PTSD, like I get it. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense. It makes sense.
100% me too. A very
Yeah.
limited amount of trust. I've been burned PTSD upon PTSD.
Yeah.
Like that. It's like never ended. The PTSD. It's like add
Uh,
on more PTSD.
so
No,
Yeah.
that's I get it.
But
I,
going, yeah, but going, that was a big segue. But going back to me leaving though, it was
Yeah.
yeah.
different because yes, I was leaving basically like I was leaving something that I loved doing. I wasn't like unhappy really, you know what I mean? Like you're always annoyed by certain like administrators or this or that or the
Yeah.
bureaucracy, but it wasn't so much, and it's a good salary, I'm tenured, you know what I mean? You have health benefits and all this stuff. And and I loved the kids, and so like it was really sad leaving, and and then like Matt, like you were saying, walking out of the building, kind of, and kids are saying goodbye, but
Mm.
they think they're gonna see me in September, you know, like when they come back, they don't know I'm not gonna be there, you know,
Right.
like so that kind of sucked, but
I know that I didn't feel that either.
You weren't thinking about you.
I mean like when I was going through I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to miss this kid."
yeah,
But he'll or he or she will have another person next year that was me. Like I hate to say like I'm replaceable, but I'm replaceable. Like
yeah,
Yeah, and
everybody's replaceable.
I like to think I wasn't either. Like, oh, the kids are going to be talking about me every day.
yeah,
But
yeah,
no, the reality is kids move on very fast,
sure,
and then there's a new guy that that makes them laugh or like it makes them smile. That
yeah,
and I had to realize that also. Like after a certain point,
Yeah.
and like it's about it's a machine, and it's the system's going to keep moving. As much as we think we did make that difference, but we are a spoke on the wheel in the system, and the system's going to keep moving, right?
Yep.
But the bottom line is though we were when we were there we were pretty unique type of spoke on the wheel. We did make our mark with kids that are going to remember us 20, 30 years later.
Well, you guys
Years
know
later.
that they did because kids
Yeah.
coming back who graduated with their own kids in that building were like, is Mr.
Yeah.
Monahan still here? Is
Yeah.
Mr. Jacob still here?
Yeah.
So that's pretty
well,
sweet.
there's a thing like I could say this. And so yeah, I understand what you mean. Like I knew leaving who was going to take my place and take the room and all this
Yeah.
stuff. But here's what I'll say about all three of us.
Me
There,
too. Me too.
yeah, there's
A master was taking over for me. Now go ahead.
Ah,
So
no. I was
okay.
gonna say like there will never. So yes, there is someone technically who's gonna replace us, but there is no way to replace something that's um, or a better way to say it is you can replace the position, but you can't replace certain things that are going to be lost. So there's a certain way that Matt, you did things in a way that you did them that no one else can do. Brugge, the same with you. Me, the same. Like no one else at 239. I'm not
Can I
saying
cut you off for a second?
yeah, yeah, sure.
If if the administration though appreciated it.
Yeah.
Like if the administration didn't appreciate what I did, like if they didn't care, like if I like then I don't know. But I hear you. Like kids though, right? Or other staff
Oh yeah, no,
members.
I'm talking. I don't care about the administration. I'm talking about the kids. I'm talking about
Okay.
because we're like everyone in that building should be in service of the kids. We're not. I don't consider
Yeah.
myself to work for an administrator. I work for the kids, right? So I work.
Okay. Right.
And so yes, the kids are going to be missing something that only I can give them and provide to them. And I'm not talking about the quality of the science education. I'm just talking about something. And Matt is the same with you, and Brugge is the same with you. So yeah, and they'll be perfectly happy. But Brugge, if you go back there next year, and Matt, I don't know if you've experienced this yet either. When if you go back into the building, because I've experienced this now many, many times, you
I
go
have
back
not.
into the building and the kids go absolutely crazy when they see you.
Yeah.
That makes you sad.
Yeah.
Like that has made me really sad. Where I think
I,
like, damn, you know, like yeah.
I've sort of seen it in you actually, so I know what you're saying when you've come in. I think I picked up on that. Just kept it to myself, but I know what you're saying.
Well,
Um,
they start asking you, "Are you coming back?"
I know.
Yeah.
And that,
Aw.
I mean, how bad does that feel? You know what I
No,
mean?
it's
So,
awful. Well, I had it when I first before I was there. I was in the South Bronx, and I remember I was in like it was. I mean, the school was like actually ranked them on the top 10 most violent schools, in New York, right? And I remember when I finally left, right, my first job, right, and I left it. I quit like in April to go to a school in Manhattan and take over the class of a pregnant teacher, right? And when I left, like these kids who I thought wouldn't give like a shit about me, like one girl came up to me, she's crying, and she gave me a hug, and I was just like, it broke my heart because they had abandonment issues, and it was and
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
nobody stayed in that class, they like it was so poorly organized. The school was like one of those new schools, right? That people were quitting left and right. I probably stayed the longest. I stayed like October, I think I came in, and I quit. I had enough in April because if I described it, it's a whole other podcast. But after experiencing, a job like that, I appreciated it. And every day where a chair wasn't getting thrown or we had a dead body outside the school, I
Oh
had a
my
pregnant,
God, Maddie. Jesus.
we had a pregnant student, in sixth grade. I had a pregnant student, I was counseling them on whether or not they should join gangs, like that. I mean, we had a riot, like one kid went insane. He was running around the school. He threw me up against the wall. He had a superintendent suspend, and then and we had a good rapport. He felt so bad. He didn't know what he was doing. He came up,
Yeah.
everything
So,
happening, and that I never forgot that. I remember their names, right? Up until now. So when I actually told them that I was leaving, what I remember is I had a lie. I had to say, which wasn't completely like, no, actually, it wasn't really a lie. I said, like, I had to go, I had to finish getting my license. I had to take classes, and I had to leave. No, I told the truth. And then the administrator came up to me and said, like, don't say that when you go around for the next class, just say you have to, they don't, the administrator was like 26 years old, right? And she never, like she never taught before. She was in one of those leadership programs. She just said, just it's too much. Just go in and say like, say goodbye. So don't tell them why. And I was like, and I was thinking like, it's gonna, just do it like that. And I did that, and it was so cold the way she wanted me to do it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh man, like, but it broke my heart to do it, and I didn't realize that like I had an effect on them that way because it was like a nightmare there. There was so much going on, and it was very, very hard. I didn't know management yet. There was so much I didn't know yet that I had to learn. And sometimes I wished I
oh, but like,
imagined in my. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just, I think that what you had said before, that this could be a whole different podcast. Like,
Well, I always wish that I always imagine in my head, man, what if I knew what I know now and went back to that first job? What could I have done so different? and I could have done so many things, but I was still trying things to survive. I remember
Right.
there was like instincts that I had to get through it,
So
but it,
I don't
but
mean to cut you off,
I
Maddie.
wish, no, 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 go ahead. I just wish I had a time machine. I could have went back, and man, I could have done so many things so much better, but you can't, you know.
But now, like the three of us moving on, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm excited to start something new. Like I've actually have a fire under my ass to like, and I'm like motivated to like
Yeah.
do something bigger and better that maybe like I was just stagnant in my current role. Like I'm just excited. So like, and you two also, like when you left, like even though yeah it's sad, it's bittersweet, but you're leaving to do like bigger and better things,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, I'm gonna segue us into the topic, and this is gonna be a sweet segue. So
Okay.
when way before I left, like starting with my first year of teaching, I always had like a side hustle type of thing, right? Like me and Dr. Neil, and then when I left, I had to make that into I had to basically I had built it up pretty big, but I had to turn it into something that could replace teaching, right? And so like my summer work became like my full-time work. And we're gonna have an episode about the summer, right? But not today. Today, what we're going to talk about, though, is like how teachers fill their time when they're not actually teaching. So that could be like in between two classes, or one of your classes goes on a class trip and you have an extra like random
Period.
free period, or it's parent teacher conferences and you have to stick around the school for 3 hours because you don't want to go all the way home and come all the way back. And those happen at 6 p.m. Or there's a dance that night, or there's a happy hour or a Christmas party or whatever. So anything and everything that falls into this like kind of
Hmm.
category of teachers, when they're not teaching, but kind of still on duty or with their school people.
With their colleagues, with their
Yeah,
work colleagues.
right.
I mean, when there was parent teacher conferences, we would go to like that time. We would always go to dinner or we'd go to like Williamsburg, like to hang out, which was awesome. Um, like definitely relationships formed with people by having that like time. If it was like parent teacher conferences and just like hanging out and talking with people and getting to know them.
Matt, like there's been a lot of like Instagram reel jokes about like I can't go out right now, it's my prep, or I can't go to lunch with them because I got to do this, like, so that I think all of that falls
A
into
lot
this
of that's
category
based
too.
on realism,
Yeah.
but I think I was more social when I was younger, as a younger teacher. I think the older I got, um, I just sort of looked at there was an art form in pacing yourself so you can get through almost like a stressful day,
Yeah.
like, and that was just me. So I'm I just would want I just built my fort and would watch wrestling. And then no shame in my game. That's I would just watch wrestling on my phone, and this would de-stress certain situations. I loved just good food and finding something to eat, or I would just try to take pleasure in the fact that, ooh, I'm gonna have this delicious lunch that my wife made for me, or I'm gonna treat myself to something really good, and then I'm gonna go watch wrestling by myself in a big fort that I build in my room, and have some private space that's mine. So I would almost make it like, ooh, I'm home. I like to I think of if you can make your space feel like home, or then surround yourself with people when you do want to socialize, that makes you feel that safe feeling that when you're home. That's why I would go to Brugge's office, and I would sit in that corner chair, right, Brugge? That was my
Yes,
spot.
you did. It was
Yep.
your spot.
Right. And
And
I would
sometimes
go
I'd
there.
be like, I can't talk, I'm typing. And then you're like, no worries, I'm just here to
Yeah.
just drink
Yeah.
my coffee and chill out.
Yeah. And then and then we sort of like we eventually stopped and we joked. And if you weren't there in your room, I would just sit at your desk and I would draw you a cartoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maddie, I still have like, I want to say almost all of the cartoons that you drew me because they were
Yeah.
so silly. They were so
Oh, they were ridiculous. It was anything that came to mind, you know.
yeah.
Or
I
I would
remember when
rearrange your toys sometimes into interesting patterns and stuff and
positions.
positions and
I remember when I first like the first 2 years specifically, I didn't know anybody when obviously when I first started, I didn't know anybody. And the parent coordinator was insane. And I would that was when I first started and I actually took lunches back then. And so I remember going to her room for lunch and like Rob, you were always there too. And like that's how we built our friendship.
Yeah.
Like was it was you, me, and her
Mm-hmm.
every day for lunch for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And so like that was like my chill out time.
Yeah.
I got kicked out. Yeah.
At some point,
Yeah.
at some point, I remember this is probably before Matt started, before you started. At some point, I started going in there because we had and this is, I don't know how common this. We had a lunch group basically that would talk about the show Lost, like when
Yeah.
Lost came out, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was like just we were all obsessed with it. We would talk about it, you know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of like how it started. And then and then, obviously whether Lost was on or not, like we just kind of like progressed from there. But Matt, what you said is something that I experienced too. Like, if I would have a break and I didn't want to just like sit around my room by myself and I didn't have stuff to do for prep, I would just walk around and look for an opportunity. Usually, like, so Brugge, if Brugge was in her office and there was no kid in there, that's the first place I would go, and I would sit at that little table also and just, basically wait for her to like force her to stop working and talk, you know. But if then,
And then we would play games.
yeah, and if she wasn't there, then I would keep walking around till I would find something, you know.
Well, that was actually a question I had for you guys. And the question was, what is your favorite hiding spot in the
Mhm.
school we worked to get away? To almost have it feel like home. Did you have a favorite hiding
Oh,
spot?
yeah. Yeah.
Now, does it have to be though, like not your office or not your room? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it could be anywhere. Anywhere. What's your favorite?
I, I know where mine was.
All right, so since you have yours, you should go.
So mine was the side lab. Whether or
Yeah.
not you
Right.
guys were there, I
Yeah.
would
Yeah. Yeah.
literally
Yeah. Yeah.
go. Nobody would open that. Like, so you guys had two doors.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
so you guys would, the one door nobody would use. So if I needed to like escape, I would go in there. Whether or not you were there, I was in that room.
If I look at I don't know, 18 years, whatever, I have to say through the years that my favorite, they would probably be that back room too. That was a special back room.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
like I don't think I've laughed as hard. There's a few laughs I ranked the hardest in my life.
I
You know what I
mean,
mean? There
Maddie,
was
there's,
some major laughing going on.
Hold on.
We laughed. I
I
don't know
know.
what it was.
No, I know, I
Maddie,
know, I know that we're all thinking of the same exact thing right now, and I don't even have to say it. I know the Brugge is. I don't know.
Georgie Animal Steel, right? It was put it
Yes,
that way. Okay, we know it. All
yes,
right. Somebody we compared to Georgie Animal Steel. And
yes.
I think I did an impression in
uh,
different situations of his teacher.
People say sometimes like, "Oh, I fell out of my chair," like, and
No, this
but
was
they're
it.
not, really telling the truth. I literally fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard.
fell off the
I
desk.
remember
I think I
I
was
it
lost.
felt
sitting
like
on top of
I
if I can bounce off the walls
yeah.
I think I was like the laughing that happened, and I don't know, like there were some certain laughs I remember, and God, it was such a way to spend time.
Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like
I
spend
mean,
the time during the day. Like, oh my God.
yeah.
yeah, my
And
desk,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
my desk wasn't always in that side room. Like I used to have the igloo, like that I built
Mhm.
out of the boxes. But when the
I learned that
desks,
from you. Yes.
when the desks were in the side room, and at one point it was me, you, Dr. Neil. At one point it was just me and
Right.
you. Yeah, but
Yep.
that side room is definitely my my sanctuary.
Well, even when Dr. Neil came in there, I still came in there and
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, for sure.
it was like you know what it reminded me of? Because I've been watching this. I've been watching Cheers again. Have you guys watched
Yeah,
Cheers?
of course.
You know,
Yeah.
Brugge, did you watch
No,
Cheers? It was a bar
no,
that they
no.
all hung out. Oh,
I
okay.
know what the
All
Everybody
right.
knows your name.
everybody
Name.
knows
Da,
your
da,
Boom,
name.
da, da.
boom, boom.
I know it's funny.
I sat down at the
Good
piano last night and
show.
played it, Rob, just to
Storm.
see if I could. Actually, that's so
Yeah,
funny you brought up the song. No, because I was watching and I wanted to see. I love when the song comes on. It's such an
yeah,
emotional song. It's a
yeah,
beautiful song. Like so. I just sat down and like to see if I could do it. And I was like, oh, I could do it. So sometimes I test myself. So I'm not playing the piano as much as I used to, just to see to keep it sharp, still to keep it sharp. Because I was when I was there, I was playing it every day. So I'll just throw out a challenge for me to play. But anyway, the back room reminded me almost like of Cheers because we would just sort of come in at different times. Even when I
yeah,
was like teaching theater, I would still come in there. What's going on.
Because like a sitcom, right? You're in a stage. The the school building is like the overarching theme, but
Yeah,
that side room had so many stories. Every single day was a
yeah,
different episode, whether it was the flies coming out of the sink or like things growing out of spaces that it shouldn't be growing out of,
yeah,
or like weird smells and trying to figure out what it was, or larva fly, whatever it was, there was always something happening in that
yes.
side room.
You made it sound like everyone really wants to hang out there now, Berg, after you just
Like
described
even like to like
flies
the
and smells and odors and
or like
it's
I
this is
like
the best.
sometimes like I'd be sitting there and all of a sudden like there would be like pennies coming from underneath the door where like other teachers would like slip things under, just like stupid shit. Like just like playing stupid games with you idiots. Like it was just fun.
yeah. No,
Fun.
no, it was great because people would come in for all different. Like for example, I remember a teacher coming in, two teachers, and they wanted to because they knew that like we had a chin up bar and we were like doing the whole fitness thing. They
I
knew that
remember
I
the chin-up bar. Yeah, yeah.
they knew that I had calipers, and so they wanted to have their body fat measured. So
Mm.
there I'm like pinching someone's fat on their arm, and like with the calipers, and it's like, oh, okay, you're like 19% body fat or something. It's like all these weird random things like that. But my
Yeah,
my my second favorite sanctuary though, if I have to exclude our own room, was Brugge's
yeah,
room. Like that
yeah.
was definitely my favorite. So it kind of it's a reciprocal, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
I just
now,
That's
liked your
why
spot,
that's why our
in the
friendship is
office.
just so like the three of us, our friendship is so strong because like we enjoy each other's company,
yeah,
you
but
know?
Yeah.
let me ask you guys this. I regret never having done this in the school, like making it a school-wide thing. We did do huge school-wide things like scavenger hunts and stuff, but I regret never having a full school-wide hide and go seek game, you
Oh
know?
my God.
So let's talk about, forget about like where your sanctuary is. What would have been your, if we were playing a giant hide and seek game and the whole
Mhm.
school is, not the roof, like it has to be places where,
Not the basement? Basement,
no,
yes or no?
it has no, because you can't get down there without like the key access or something, which you may have
Okay.
had, but most people didn't. So like
Okay.
if you like places where everyone can get to in the school, where do you think you would have, you have like a minute to decide where you're going to run and hide, or 2 minutes or whatever. Where would you have gone?
I know.
I
Okay.
know.
All right, go ahead. Either one of you.
All right, I'll
Go
go. I'll
ahead,
go
Mom.
first. The side back art room because you can't get in; it's locked. But I
No,
would
you
be
can't,
able to
no,
get
you
in because
can't.
it's
You
my
can't.
room.
You can't choose something
Oh,
that's. You have to choose something
that's open that everybody can get to. Okay.
that the
Okay.
seeker where you can be found. It can't be a place where you can't be
Yeah.
found. That's.
Oh,
I
okay. All right.
I would choose the shower in gymnasium side
Mm,
office, had a private bathroom with a shower, and it had a wall behind like in front of the shower.
that's
I would
good.
hide there.
That's
Now,
good.
that
Yeah.
office was not locked?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's where I met Brugge. Actually, she was
So
like, "Hey."
There was also
You're
that. Remember, there was also that little room in the gym where all the balls were. It's like
very fond of that loofah.
there was like the ball room, right?
Yeah, that's right next to where Brugge took a shower.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was next
It
door.
probably shares a wall. Matt, do
Mm.
you have
Probably.
yours or
Well, wait. It was the art room movie. That's disqualified. All right, so let me think for a second.
Are you thinking of like the movie Porky's?
I've never seen it, so no,
Oh,
What?
you've never seen
Yeah,
Porky's?
no.
Yeah. Oh my God. Rob, we're the same age. How did you
Every
not?
I'm crying. I'm
I
every
crying.
watched Porky's when I was 13 years old.
I think I
every
was three. I think I was
every
three.
I think every episode we have a situation like that where like it's usually Brookie who hasn't like when Brookie said she hadn't seen Titanic and we reacted. There's always a person who hasn't seen something and the other two react. So I'm
I'm
glad to keep the
amazed. I thought
streak going.
everybody like at our age saw Porky's.
I'm
No,
obsessed. I'm obsessed.
Porky screwed every kid up. Like
Every kid. Every
oh my
kid.
God. There was so much going on in there that
All right.
just
What
you're
was
like,
your hiding
what?
spot?
All
wait,
right.
wait, Matt, do you have one or do you want me to go?
I'm thinking, no, you go ahead. I'm still thinking.
Okay. Um, Let me think. Well,
I think I do. I think I do.
yeah, I've got a couple of things. So one of them, like I think that I could have fit into one of those cabinets in the teacher's lounge, underneath the sink or whatever. But that's like my hide and go seek tactic is
That would
usually
hurt my back.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
usually different. So like I think what I actually would have done is, and it doesn't sound like it would work, but I can guarantee this would have worked, is I think I would have hidden myself in the folds of the curtain in the auditorium.
Oh my God. I was literally about to say,
Yeah.
I guarantee Rob is going to say he'd hide
Yeah.
on stage behind the curtains
No, no, but in the folds, like
in the
I
fold.
would kind of wrap myself into the curtain and while it was open because it's so thick. Like there's no,
I think I know where I would go. That's a good one. And actually nearby there, I would go into that office, not the right corner, but the left corner,
yeah, it had that
where
that alcove.
yeah, and because there's so many dips and layers in there, and depending on how much crap they had in there, I would be able to position myself under some crap that was there, that was laying around. Because there was so much materials and everything. It was used for after school, and they had a lot of storage in there. So I definitely
Yeah.
could have hid onto some boxes or in back underneath a desk or something in the corner, and so tried to blend into the materials there. I think I would go there. That was my office once and I
Yeah.
shared it with after school. But what I did was when I started is I moved all their stuff to the front. I reversed it, moved all my stuff to the back,
Yes.
and I almost built I took this back desk and I made it like a couch. So I had a
Yeah.
place to chill and eat lunch, and just sort of I put some pillows up, and then when I would come
Took
out,
a
it was like
nap.
a when
Yeah.
they would come in and start preparing for their after school, I was finishing. If I had last period prep, I was back there, and I'd just be chilling back there, and that was my back little corner office. So when they see me come out, they'd like jump, like, oh, sorry. I was just, I would come out. They'd always forget I'm back there. I'd just be resting. One time I fell asleep.
Matt, you definitely had the widest variety of interesting office spaces.
Oh, I was everywhere,
Yeah.
Yeah.
everywhere.
I've been
Man,
everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
I don't know that song, but
Well, there's two versions. There's the Rihanna version,
No,
and then there's the John. Is that the Johnny Cash version that you're
yeah.
singing, or is it Johnny
Yeah,
Cash?
there's only one
I'm a
version.
cash guy. I should know this.
Is it Johnny Cash?
I think so. There's
Oh,
a, it, wa- there's an it's an old song, but then it was on some commercial also. Like
yeah.
it was like the commercial jingle or whatever. Um,
No, that was me. I'm an everywhere man. Been around town.
Yeah, we have. I mean, if as long as
wait,
you
oh
had,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Where you live?
I have to because I'm reminded of a story.
What, when
Oh
I didn't have an
All right,
Jesus.
wait,
office and
no,
I went into her
no,
closet?
nope,
No.
nope, nope. It's a story. This it may
Do
have
we
been.
know this story?
Yes, I'm trying. I have to think for a moment of how to bring this story into the conversation without saying things that we'd have to bleep out. Okay, so it was a story told by another teacher, right? And I think it was
Mm.
I think it was told when we were out somewhere, like at a because the topic of today is like so happy hours count. Like so we used to go to happy hours occasionally, not all the time. Like groups of teachers would go to happy hours, right? And
Right,
then
right.
of course,
Uh,
when you get a bunch of teachers at a happy hour and they're drinking, like stories start to be told, right?
I
And
right.
was gonna
then
say,
do you know what I'm talking about? And there was a story that a teacher was telling about the game hide and go seek.
Hmm.
So Matt, this is not ring. Brugge, is this ringing a bell for you?
no, but I think so. I think I know who you're talking about. I don't think I was there. I think you told me about it because
Oh
you were
my
like,
God. It was George the Animal Steel telling the story.
Oh,
"Oh
oh
no,
no,
Oh my
no, forget
no,
it.
God.
I
Oh
have no idea what you're
my
talking about."
God. Oh my
no.
God. It was basically I can't I don't even, I can't even get into the details on this podcast. We'll have to have like an unrated
We have to
version.
like we're gonna have to make code words to
Yeah.
describe the story and get through.
Basically, George the
But
Animal Steel had a very unique way of playing hide and go seek.
go
Way,
seek. Was it
way,
alone or was it with other people?
no, with other people,
What was she
where upon being found,
to get a you got a
something
special prize?
something would yes, something would happen, and so you can determine. I guess it can be
Right.
determined whether the prize was for the seeker
She
or
gets to
the
bite the turnbuckle. Okay,
so.
got it. Yes.
Ah, but it's I can't believe that this is one of those rare moments where now like after this obviously we're gonna get on a call and I'm gonna tell you the whole story, the unrated
Oh, we
version.
have to.
I'm dying.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
before we wrap
I
up for today, wait, I'm gonna ask you guys
yeah.
a very interesting
Yeah,
question
because I
that I
gotta
have
go.
for you. Yeah, I know you got to go. What's the worst place then to spend your free time at work? If we're talking
Oh
about the
God.
best,
Oh,
where do you not like if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I would rather be any place in the world, where is the worst place to spend your free time at work?
This is
oh my God.
you might think this is obvious. Like sometimes I would spend my free time down in the auditorium or cafeteria where all the kids were because I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the kids. Like I really just like I would sit at a cafeteria table with kids. So it's not that. So I'm gonna try to think of some like what the real answer to this is then.
I I'm gonna say like I I don't want to. Obviously, there are certain people that you just didn't get along with, so you wouldn't want to be with them. But specifically, like the teachers' lounge, I did not want to go
Yeah.
anywhere near the
Oh
teachers'
God,
lounge,
it was so hot and stuffy
and
in
just
there.
like
No.
what,
There
like
was something
no,
depressing. I
yes,
It
also
was
very
it
sad
was
about the
it
teachers'
was an
lounge.
awful teacher's lounge. It
but
was
I
like we're it
but
was like almost like punishment for not having a becoming a teacher.
it was
Like I felt
also
bad for people, like that were in there, like it just like
Oh, guys, wait. Do you guys this also falls under our topic. Like the teachers' lounge was where we would have that recyclable gift giving thing
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
people would take
mm,
like
Like Secret
so like
Santa, right?
Secret
yeah.
Santa, but not. It was
Yeah,
like
whatever it was called.
take your crap from your house, another
Oh,
one
no.
Not
person
more
who
than $5, nothing more valuable, nothing valuable. Just
right,
pack
like
up
so,
your
like
socks.
somebody would like
Yeah, right.
take a piece of junk from their house and
Browse
re-gift it to
and
somebody. What was
Yeah,
somebody
that
else.
called?
I
Bring
So
your
like
shit to work and give it to somebody.
no.
recession Santa
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, Recession Santa. But it was basically Secret Santa, but and you can keep giving things, but it like basically they had to be these like free tiny things, like not
Right.
more than X. I was gonna say
Yeah,
about the
one
teachers'
person's
lounge.
trash is another person's bad idea.
Yeah, but those were
Wait,
I don't know. I
I,
had some.
I I have one though. I have one.
Yeah.
Sitting in a meeting, right, where you screw up at work and then being
Oh,
told like what you did wrong with like an administrator that has an obsessive compulsive disorder and repeats the same thing over and over and
that
over again.
see that changes the rules though, because you're talking about a situation. You're not talking
Yeah.
about like when you said it, it sounded like
That's an office though. An office stuck in an office with in a meeting.
but
You know what I
it's
mean?
not the office that you
That's
don't like. It's the situation that you're in.
I don't know. That's
So,
I
but like
broke
for
one.
So
example,
like
the
So
answer, like
I
The
I
way
did this wrong. Okay.
no, we can answer differently based on those parameters. But the way you asked it was, so for example, I would say like Brugge, the teachers lounge, but not because like I wouldn't say the teachers lounge because that's where union meetings would happen.
Right.
I would say the teachers lounge because if I was to go and sit down in there, there's a very high probability that someone is going to come in there who I don't really want to talk to.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
like basically that was why I wouldn't want to be in that particular place. But if
Yeah.
you're talking about like what situation do you not want to be in the school, then yeah, I mean it could be any of those post observation meetings, whatever room they may happen in.
Yeah.
Um, but if we're talking situations, I'm going to say mine is definitely the library for professional development.
Oh,
That's my number one.
The worst.
I'd rather do any post op with anyone than do that.
those were the times when I had to be really, really careful because I was really bad when it was so quiet. I had so much built up like tension in those situations and with so many people that I can laugh so easily. So anything can set me off
Wah
where
wah.
I had that laughing thing where I couldn't control it. So I had to be really careful. Like if I heard a sound like a chair move, I'm like an 8-year-old kid. I think it's a fart. And then, like, and I would just start cracking up to myself, anything like would set me off. And if someone actually
Maddie, so
farted,
like,
forget it.
is there a room? Wait,
Yeah,
somebody
not
farted at PD and in the library?
Yeah, yeah. Come on,
I don't
18 years, you never heard a fart?
I don't think so. Not in the
I
PD.
don't think so either. Not
I
in
remember,
PD.
I remember hearing one.
Wait, so
Forget.
yeah, so Matt, not a situation.
Or it was a sound of a chair or something, but in my head, because I'm like emotionally stunted, and I'm thinking that's the funniest fucking thing in the world. I'm like 8 years old. I'm like, somebody farted in a teacher meeting, because they're so serious, and we just worked all day,
All right,
8 hours.
Maddie,
Yeah.
what is the place in the building? A room, a physical room, like mine is the teacher's lounge. What is the place in the building that you just steer away from? Like, do not want
Yeah.
to go near.
You have free time. You can't be in your office for some reason, so you can't leave the school, but so there's places where you might go, but where's the place where you just would
Just
avoid? You don't want to go there.
avoid.
I would probably say an administrator's office. Like I would avoid it like the plague, and I would actually cut around different ways
Yeah.
to not to
To not
not get
pass
called
it.
in. No, to not get called in there
Yeah.
and take away my time. And it
Right.
became an art form actually how to. And sometimes when I was in there, it felt like I would rather be here for whatever reason. I would rather be in any other place in the world than this, and I would just escape in my mind. So yeah, like certain administrator's office.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Brugge, you got
It's a good
anything
segue
else?
from my fart story. Yeah, that was great.
Oh,
What's
yes.
your
None of you ever heard a fart in 18 years in
I
during a
mean,
PD in the
listen, it's
library.
normal, but never in a
No,
PD library.
not in the
Like
library.
maybe if I was like at a yoga session and somebody was
Bunch of
like doing
liars.
downward
Wait a minute,
facing
wait a minute.
dog.
We're not talking about have you ever heard a fart? We're
No,
talking
of course, no, not in the
we're
world.
we're
No,
talking
in
about
during PD,
no,
like in
I
that
don't
during
no.
that quiet time
I have
during
been in
18
counseling.
years.
Wait, stop. I have been in counseling PDs where you're doing yoga and somebody's doing down facing dog and they fart.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
So like
they don't have the same kind of control to hold it in. Right. Yeah, teachers bend over to pick stuff up there. That same thing. Papers drop. This thing on?
Yeah, no, now I'm just thinking too,
We
like
still on the air?
all right.
Were you thinking about if somebody?
no, I'm
What do
thinking
you
about
think?
and I'm thinking about like if you're in a meeting and you have to fart, like and do you try to do it silently or do you just like hold it in? Like that's a whole thing too.
Well, I was gonna go on stage to perform, in a class recently, and no, I had to
Yeah,
do this a big emotional scene, right? Recently,
that's
right?
why I'm
And
talking.
and and no, and I realized, shit, I have a fart sticking in my ass that has to come out right now, and I'm gonna go out and perform, and then
Wait, wait.
and the teachers who's like a celebrity is like basically say, actors, are you ready? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna fart in front of everybody right now. So I go to the side and I sort of like, and I let it out, right?
This is in his
Mike,
acting. This is in his acting class.
This was
are
in my
you Mike?
acting class.
Were you Mike?
His,
Yes
well,
or no?
No, I wasn't mic'd. No, so nobody could hear it.
was your ass mic'd?
There's more to
You're
this story,
holding,
but I'm
guys.
gonna leave it out.
Guys,
I
I'm
don't.
holding it in. I'm holding it in
Yeah.
until I
Well,
get the fuck out of there.
I didn't hold it in. Okay.
Ew, I don't
Anyway,
like talking about farts.
No.
I don't know how we got to this. All right.
All right. Well, this was another.
Well,
This was another good one. Another good one in the books.
yes.
I don't know how we get to farts.
No, me neither. But let me say this though.
I blame myself
You
for
guys know
that.
the song? Do you guys know the song?
Are you gonna keep going on?
Fart
about-
song?
Yeah, the fart song.
No.
If you're sliding,
Marty
no, that's
Fart-
diarrhea. No,
No,
that's the
Marty
diarrhea song.
Farty had a party, all the farts are there. Tutti Frutti, later beauty, all the farts run out for air.
No,
I don't think I know that
this.
one. No.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right, great. That was a great.
That was a great episode of Playing Teacher. All right, and you're listening to Special Songs by Brugge, and I'm Matt. This is Rob and Brugge, who just entertained us with a lovely fart song. And she's our special friend. And we'll see you guys next time on Playing Teacher. Have a great day.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye.